Welcome back. This is episode 2 of Bedside Stories, the journey of a nurse becoming a nurse advocate. And so where we left off, we were right about the spot where we were going to, for me to get into nursing school. And just, this is me, hooded sweatshirt. I'm recording this on a Saturday morning. This is me on the weekend. So this is as fancy as it gets. And looking forward to getting outside. Love the outdoors. But anyway, so when I chose a nursing school, the nursing school I chose was the same nursing school that person that I so admired went to nursing school. And I remember getting there, and it was a diploma program. Their diploma programs do not exist anymore. So back when I was in nursing school, there was 3 different kinds of ways you could become an RN. You could go to a 2-year associate's program. You could attend a 3-year year-round. So it's 3 years. We only got a couple of weeks off in between. So that was a 3-year diploma program. That program was really highly focused on skills and learning the skills you need to be an RN. And then there was your baccalaureate or your BSN, your bachelor's degree in nursing. And if you went to that track, you were the type of nurse that wanted to climb the nursing ladder and go. They focused a lot on leadership and how you're going to climb the ladder as a nurse. So back then, those were the differentiations. So I chose a diploma program basically because that's where that other woman went to nursing school. And I remember going there and bragging her up, and I was so excited. And I was in nursing school probably for about a month and just starting to get to know my instructors. And she said, Pam, we're really glad that you admire this person, but she almost flunked out of nursing school a couple of times. And so, that kind of took the air out of my balloon when I was thinking about a nurse. But I tell you that in my 40 years of nursing, I have met nurses that maybe weren't good at the book part. They struggled taking tests, and the book knowledge, you know, was more difficult for them. But I can tell you, I call them street smart nurses, and they are some of the best nurses that you will find. So you can't judge a book by its cover or where they went to school or what degree they got. I mean, it's in how they practice and the intuition they develop and the skills that they develop. So I just wanted to make that clarifying point. So anyway, get into nursing school. And you got to remember, I grew up, I was born in 1958. So my youth was in the 60s. High school, I graduated in 1976. Lots of things going on during that time. If you can imagine the 60s and what the political arena was then, there was a lot of unrest with rights. And so anyway, where we lived on the northwest side of Chicago, it was an all white neighborhood. My high school, even I graduated in 1976. It was an all white school. Some changes were coming. That's when they were talking about busing, and that was all just coming into play. And so when it came to diversity, I was very sheltered. I didn't know anything different than what I knew and the people that I was around. But what I can tell you is, I was raised to be a good person. And so I never thought of anything, good, bad, or indifferent. I wasn't exposed to people that the gay community. I didn't have any knowledge of any of that. And so when I went to nursing school, in Chicago, I was in Lincoln Park, where I went to nursing school. Is at a hospital called Augustana. The hospital isn't even there anymore. And so when I went there, that was kind of my first exposure to diversity. And we had 7 men in our class. We had probably 30 some students in our class. And out of those 7 men, 6 were gay and 1 was not. And so I'll never forget the first day of school. Everybody had to stand up and introduce themselves. And this one gentleman stood up and he introduced himself, and he just was very aggressive and just came right out and said, I'm gay, and if you don't like it, that's your tough luck. And so I was kind of taken aback. I didn't know what to think. And, you know, I didn't have any experiences in this area. So I just kind of just sat there and was quiet and didn't think anything of it. I didn't have an opinion one way or the other, except I felt a little offended that he had to be so aggressive about sharing that. I certainly didn't share anything private about me. But anyway, um, that was my first experience with someone being gay. And as that nursing school, that first semester, we carpooled to the different hospitals, and so we would share rides. And it was in my third year of nursing school. So when I say third year, we went from August. We took a 2-week break in the winter, took a 2-week break, in July. I mean, this was like 3 straight years. And 2 weeks into my freshman year, or my first year of nursing school, we were already giving medications on the floor. The hospital, that was the nice thing. When you were in a hospital program, you had your clinicals right there. You were going to school right there in the hospital. And so we were giving medications. And I remember, we're practicing sorting out medications and using M&Ms in class and things like that. And now picture this, because this is how we gave medications back then. Now you go to the hospital, they scan your bracelet, they ask you your birth date. Everything's prepackaged, individually wrapped, pop the thing open, put it in the medicine cup, verify all the things that you do. Now, when I was in nursing school and as a new nurse, do you remember as a kid, and some of you, if you're young watching this, you're not going to remember, but if you remember as a kid back those, when you were in art class, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, they would have those metal, almost like those little metal, like muffin tins, but the holes were kind of small, and you'd put your paint in there, and that's how you would paint, is you'd put different colors, because you had to share this big bottle of paint that was in your kindergarten class, and the teacher would pour, them into the little holes, and you would, that's what you used to paint. Well, imagine passing medications with the same kind of device, but in the front of each little hole on that metal tray, there was a slit. And the slit held, maybe a 2x3 card that had the patient's name on it, what the medication was, what the dose was. And you set these cards in front of these little center holes, and you would actually take a bottle off the shelf, match up the card with the medicine, put it in there, and put it in this little tray, and for your patient. Now, if your patient had a lot of medications, that was crazy. So yes, to answer a question right up front, I dumped those probably a couple of times during the 3 years in nursing school, tipped them over, had to start all over. I mean, it was a disaster. Could you imagine the margin for error, back in those days when that's how you were passing medications? Oh, it makes me cringe to think about maybe how many mistakes, could have been made with that method and that process. So we've come a long way, baby, as far as becoming more safe in handing out medications. So anyway, I was in my third year, my last year of nursing school, and I was going through a divorce. I had 2 kids before, the age of 21. I got married 2 months before my 20th birthday, I believe. So it was 2 kids before 22. Anyway, it's been a long time ago. And so I was struggling. My parents had moved to Wisconsin. I was still in Chicago. I was by myself. My grandma lived in Chicago. I asked if me and the kids could move in with her. She said no. She said that would be too hard on my grandpa. So here I am with 2 kids, 2 toddlers, and no place to go. And so it was a really, really hard decision in my life that last year. I actually, to try and keep it together here, actually gave up the primary care of those 2 kiddos, my oldest son and oldest daughter, to their dad. while I was trying to finish up my last year in nursing school. And it was really hard for me, but I thought that if I didn't finish nursing school, how was I supposed to take care of those kids and myself? So that was a really hard year for me. I tried keeping the kids before I made that decision. I tried keeping the kids in the dorm with me because I was staying in the dormitory, which was just an old abandoned wing in the hospital that it was creepy. It had one of those metal gates in front of the elevator. Oh, that's a whole nother story. And I don't know if I'll share that experience I had one night in my dorm room. Was a very, very scary experience, but I'll think about whether or not I want to add that to the series. But just very, very creepy. So it was we had one single bed in there and the three of us would sleep in it. And someone turned me in, someone busted me that I had my two little kids with me staying in the dorm. So that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. I really didn't know what to do anymore, how I was going to finish school and take care of those two little ones. And so um, I say that because to lead up to this next story is that my soon to be ex-husband worked a second shift job. So he was with those kids while I was in nursing school. And I had a hard stop to be there at 4:30 when he had to leave for work. Yes, his mom and dad was there, but I already felt um kind of like a jerk because I was relying on them. My family was gone. Like I said, my family was in Wisconsin. I had nobody. And my grandma and grandpa couldn't help me. And so I really, when they told me I had to be there at 4:30, I didn't want to be 1 second late because I didn't want to abuse, that them helping me with my kids. And yeah, they were the grandparents and yeah, the father was there, but I just felt this very strong obligation as their mom to take care of them. So we were at University of Chicago for a clinical rotation. It was our psych rotation, which I'll tell you right up front, I am not a psych nurse. That was I aced that. Um, and I aced nursing school with a 3.98 uh out of 4. So an A minus. I aced the 3 years of nursing school, but psych was not my forte. And because I believed everything everybody told me. And so I had a hard time sorting out what was fictitious, versus what was true. And my psych teacher she just had a blast with me. And so that we'll talk about maybe that in the next story, my experience with my psych patients. But anyway, we're at this University of Chicago. It was my turn to drive. We were carpooling with 3 other nursing students, and one of them was the gay gentleman that announced himself, and we were getting along. I don't care. To me, in my mind, everybody's a person. I don't care what your preferences are, whether I agree or not agree with what any of your choices are. That doesn't matter to me and how I treat you as a person. I mean, everybody everybody deserves to be treated with empathy, with respect, and just as a good human being. And so he was with us, and I told him, I said, I know I'm driving today. I got a hard stop. I got to get 45 minutes home, to the northwest side of Chicago in order to watch my kids. So please be ready. And so everybody's in the car. We're ready to go. And he's standing there chit-chatting with one of the nurses from the unit. And I think it was the charge nurse. And I'm beeping the horn. And I'm saying, come on, please. I gotta go. And, he's ignoring me, 100% flat out ignoring me. And I'm like, I'm just, wiggling in my seat. And I'm telling everybody, I'm really, really sorry, guys. I really got to go. I don't want to leave him, but I don't know what to do. I can't be late. And I'm beeping the horn. And they're yelling out the window saying, come on. And just ignoring me and just continue to talk. And so I left. And I don't know if that was the right or the wrong thing to do, but I was in survival mode at that point in my life. And I needed to go. I needed to do that. And so I left. So then I don't know, he must have got a ride back with another, I don't know how that all story went. I never found out how he got back home. But all I remember is the next day, him chewing me out and in front of the whole class, telling me that the only reason why I left him at school was because he was gay. And I was so upset because that was so far from the truth. That had absolutely nothing to do. I don't care, if he was purple, it didn't matter at that point to me. It mattered that I was going to be late and I needed to get my keister moving. And so that was a very embarrassing part for me during school, and just again, without being exposed, I was very naive. I mean, I was extremely naive at that point in my life. I did not know any of these things, and so I tried even harder to be more inclusive. I mean, I would go out of my way to try and be nice and be part of the whole inclusive community. And so I'll never forget graduation. The gentlemen that were staying in the dorm, they had different floors for the guys, and all the gay gentlemen had kind of, grouped together, and they all stayed in the dorm together. And so they were having a graduation party when we were graduating nursing school. And I didn't know if I should go. I said, you know what? I need to go. I need to show them my support, that I'm supporting them no matter what their choices are, that I want to be a good person. And so I went to their graduation party. And again, I think of that song. Oh gosh, I should have thought of this ahead of time. But that Three Dog Night song about where he goes to a party and his girl's passed out on the floor and he's seeing all these things going on. And that was my first experience at what I would call at that point in my time a wild party. I mean, they were, I mean, gay couples, heterosexual couples, making out on the floor groping. I mean, it was, for this naive girl, this was really, I'd never experienced anything like that before. They're passing around a little dark bottle of what they called poppers. Before I even did this episode, I had to look it up online. I had no idea what poppers were, and that it was a nitrate, and how it was used and who used it and why it was used. I didn't, and I'm not going to go into it. So if you don't know what poppers are and you want to know what poppers are, go ahead and Google it, because I'm not going there. But I just pretended and passed the bottle along. I wasn't going to take anything. I didn't know what it was. And so I stayed as long as I could, and then I left. And that was just, I just went back to my dorm and really had to process everything that I was seeing and hearing. And for those of you that have had a lot of experiences, you're probably saying, what a naive girl I am. But I was. So that was my lesson in inclusivity. So I'm going to go ahead and end this episode here, and then we'll probably share a couple more episodes with a nursing school before we move on to being a new graduate. And that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where my learning experience really started as a new graduate. But we will see you back for episode 3 on Bedside Stories, the journey of a nurse becoming a nurse patient advocate. We'll see you back here soon.